Welcome back to Road to FIRE. We're a family of three documenting our journey to FIRE, financial independence, retire early. Let's talk about the five types of FIRE, or the five ways you can potentially retire early. I'll share our high level FIRE number and what type we chose, as well as outline other ways of retiring early. So please hang with me. Now, it took us a while to choose our FIRE number. We essentially had to envision or outline what and when we wanted our life to look like once we reached financial independence. Did we want to continue to work? Did we want to live in the US? Did we want to expand our family? There were so many factors that we discussed to help us plan for our future and retire early. So here's the breakout of our FIRE number. We opted for Fat FIRE, working towards $2.45 million. I created a video providing more detail on our numbers, and I'll link that here. But high level, here are the key factors we took into account. We used the conservative withdrawal rate of 3.5% versus the 4% which is traditionally used. We inflated our expenses immensely to cover for lifestyle changes. We also incorporated our child's education and plan to live abroad for a large part of every year. And then we factor in when we wanted to retire. Again, this is our plan and things are bound to change, but right now we're tracking to about 10.5% to our overall FIRE goal. But fat fire isn't the only option. Here are five other ways to retire early. First, there's a traditional way. Then there's lean fire, which is becoming more common. There's also coasting fire, which I just recently heard about. There's barista fire, and then of course fat fire, which we opt for. Although we opted for fat fire, we'll be doing mini retirements or job changes to align with our future passion projects. So we might be doing a mix of the above. Again, there isn't a right or wrong answer. It's what works for your overall plan. Now, everyone defines retirement differently. I'm not talking about what retirement will look like. What I'm focusing on here is how to reach financial independence. So, the FI part of FIRE, there is a misconception that those seeking early retirement either hate their jobs or don't want to work. For us, that is not the case. We just want options or more freedom. But let's get into the five types. So the first type is the traditional path. The lifestyle objective is to accumulate income generating assets that reach a level where it pays enough money to cover your current living expenses. This is the goal to simply retire before the expected age of 67. I believe it's 67 right now. So if you're 55 and you retire, then you hit fire. For this route, you'll usually need to cut down your expenses, increase your savings rate, and invest aggressively to retire earlier than the masses. But here's an example. If your annual expenses a year is about $40,000 and you take the safe 4% withdrawal rate, then your FIRE number will be about $1 million. This is the number needed to be financially independent. Keep in mind, this is just an example, and your inputs or your assumptions will more than likely be different, but this is known as a traditional path to early retirement. Next you have lean fire, which is basically the traditional format but cutting down your expenses a bit more, hence the word lean. Think of it as you working out your budget to get it even more tighter, kind of like having a trainer in the gym. For lean fire, you would reevaluate your expenses, look at your bare bone needs, and then calculate your overall fire number. Look at the example here. We will still have the same safe withdrawal rate as before, but your expenses are a bit lower. So maybe you cut down on cleaning supplies, or you cut down on grocery or eating out, or any other expenses you may have. And instead of spending $40,000 a year, you can opt for $35,000 a year. This will give you a fire number of about $875,000 versus the $1 million in the previous example. I find this path to be more aligned with a more minimalist approach to life. So number three is Coast Fire. And I have to admit, I had not heard of this before until I started seeing this pop up on my Instagram page. Essentially, Coast Fire is about having enough money invested at an early age that you no longer need to invest because of the power of compounding will then cover your lifestyle. Essentially, you can ride the way of compounding and the market return to retirement. The market will essentially do all the heavy lifting for you. Now, I find this to be really strange to not continue to invest, but I can see the perks of this type of fire. Check out this example. Again, you have $40,000 in expenses and you assume a market return of 5%, which is really conservative, and the same safe withdrawal rate of 4%. And I pulled my current age of 35 and I plan to just retire, say, at 65. If my investments hit about $190,000, then I would not have to contribute any more dollars into my accounts to hit my $1 million fire number. Compound interest is just amazing overall. Personally, my husband and I need to be about 430,000 to hit our fire number or our coast fire number if we want to retire in our 60s, if that was the way we want to go. Not our plan, but it's good to know just in case. Number four is Barista FIRE. Essentially, you'll have your investments cover part of your expenses and potentially skip the 9 to 5 grind and work a part-time job to cover the remainder of your expenses. I love the idea of switching to a less demanding job while having the ability to cover all of your expenses. So here's another example. Say your annual expenses are once again $40,000 a year. You have the same safe withdrawal rate, but your FIRE number is only $500, helping you cover half of your overall expenses. You then get a part-time gig or a side hustle that will cover the remaining $20,000, hitting your overall annual expense needs. The great thing about this is the flexibility and not needing a traditional corporate job. But there is still a sense of dependency on someone else that I'm not a fan of, as you'll still need a job or income outside of your investments to cover your expenses. I absolutely love the idea of working part-time or shifting away from corporate grind, but I still want my expenses to be 100% covered by my investments. So the last number is number five, and that's fat fire. And the best way to explain fat fire is fire, but on steroids. Fat fire is for people who want to retire early, but will have a much larger yearly budget and higher expenses. Instead of living around $40,000 a year, you will more than likely be living closer to $90,000 and above annually. Now, this is usually attributed to high earners, but it doesn't have to be. It's basically aligning with the type of lifestyle you want to have later in your life. We opted for Fat Fire because we have a son and we just wanted to be overly conservative on our future plans. Do I consider us high earners? No. But this gives us more flexibility on what retirement might look like. So here's an example. Instead of having your expenses at about $40,000, it'll more than likely be closer to $90,000, meaning you aren't entirely focused on cutting all your expenses down to the bare bones. So you'll have a fire number around $2.25 million. Again, these are just the examples with assumptions, but you get the point overall. Choose the path that works best for you, and it might not fit perfectly into these five buckets. The beauty of life is that you can design your own plan. This is what FIRE opened up to us, the idea of designing our own future and what retirement looks like for us. Now, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, but don't forget to comment and subscribe below. Until next time.